Ukrainian officials say their air defenses have been engaged in repelling attacks near Kyiv as Russia continues its heavy missile and drone bombardments. Reuters journalists reported hearing a series of explosions around the Ukrainian capital. A two-story residential building near the Ukrainian city of Dnipro has been destroyed by a suspected Russian missile strike. Officials say 20 people were injured, including 5 children. Meanwhile, the head of the mercenary Wagner group, Yevgeni Prigozhin, says he's ready to send his troops to defend the border region with Ukraine. The Belgorod region has seen a series of cross-border attacks and shelling from Ukraine in recent days. Thousands of people have been forced to flee their homes.
A throng of people desperate for shelter. At this sports stadium in Belgorod, people fleeing fighting at the border have found temporary refuge. The latest arrival comes from the nearby town of Shebekino, which has been shelled from the Ukrainian side. We left Shebekino during a short pause in the bombardment. We were in the basement from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. And when it more or less calmed down, we got in the car, loaded our pets and children, and drove off by ourselves. 2 Ukraine-based Russian opposition groups have claimed responsibility for bringing the fight to the motherland. They launched a raid in the Belgorod region on the 22nd of May before quickly withdrawing back across the border. On June 1st, the Freedom of Russia Legion released a video of what it claims are artillery strikes on Shebekino and vowed to push further into Russia. This time, significantly bigger liberation forces entered the territory of Russia, and fighting is going on as we speak. The aim is to liberate the Belgorod region first, then move deeper into Russia, possibly the Bryansk region, Kursk region. The ultimate goal is Moscow. The attacks have drawn the ire of Yevgeni Prigozhin, head of the Wagner mercenary group that recently took the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. If the defense ministry in the near future doesn't stop what's happening in the Belgorod region, the capture of territory of the Russian Federation, in fact, it is a takeover of this territory, then we will come to the Belgorod region and protect the Russian people, all those who live there. Russia claims to have repelled the latest raid. But as people keep arriving in Belgorod, the border skirmishes are having an outsized effect by bringing the war to Russia.
More on this now from DW's Russia analyst Konstantin Eggert. He joins us from Vilnius. Konstantin, let's start with this statement by the Wagner chief suggesting he deploy his group to Belgorod. One could get the impression that Russia's own defense is so precarious it has to rely on the goodwill of mercenaries.
Well, it does indeed produce this impression, and definitely that is the impression Prigozhin wants to produce for the Russian society and for the Russian ruling class. He's definitely vying for a significant political role in Russia. I have to say this is now absolutely, to me personally, this is in no doubt. Of course, his videos, which are massively viewed in Russia, also have an impact on the cohesion of the Putin regime. Not tomorrow, not after a week, but basically all those hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of civil servants that are viewing this are saying, what exactly is happening? Why is Putin silent? Why this man is allowed to scold publicly the chief of defense and the minister of defense? It is definitely a sign of the crisis of the Putin regime, no matter what the outcome for Prigozhin personally and his mercenaries will be.
Prigozhin, as I'm sure you're well aware, also attacked what he called factions within the Kremlin for sowing discord. So let's get back to the question you just posed in answering the original question. Why is this constant public bickering, this airing of dirty laundry, being tolerated?
Well, frankly, I have the same question. It is very clear to me that compared to what goes on in Belgorod and basically on the Russian border, on the southern Russian border, which is now the front line, as we see, what Putin does, Medvedev does, Lavrov does, all this looks like these people are living in a different universe. And probably they are. Actually, I think that this isolation from reality, which started during the days of COVID, Putin's constant hiding from the public had its effect. We definitely have a ruling clique in Russia, which is isolated from the realities it essentially initiated. It essentially produced this full-scale invasion. So I think this crisis will continue. I think it is an ineptness of the Putin system, even within the dictatorial regime, that starts to show.
Konstantin, we have half a minute, but I wanted to ask you, what do we know about shadowy groups like the Russian Volunteer Corps and the Legion of Freedom of Russia, who claim to be behind the attacks in Russia?
What we do know is that there are Russian citizens that are making statements on behalf of these groups. Some of them were involved in nationalist politics in Russia, some of them weren't. And it's very clear these people are supported by Ukraine. They get weapons from there and they attack from the south. That means they attack from the Ukrainian territory. That is all we know. And it's also very clear that so far, probably they will not be able to reach Moscow as they claim in the video you just showed.
As always, many thanks to Konstantin Eggert in Vilnius.
Thank you.